Hi, and welcome to the Engineered Mind podcast, a podcast about engineering, AI, neuroscience, and other interesting topics of life to educate and inspire people all around the world. I'm your host, Jousef, and for the second podcast, I welcome Luis Serrano. Luis is a quantum AI research scientist at Zapata Computing. In the past, he worked in artificial intelligence at Apple as the lead AI educator and Google, as well as at Udacity as the head of AI and data science content. Before his life in technology, he was a research mathematician. He did a bachelor's and master's at the University of Waterloo, a PhD at the University of Michigan, and an NSERC postdoctoral fellowship at the Université du Québec à Montréal. Back when he was a high school student, he participated in the International Mathematical Olympiads, short IMO, representing his native country of Colombia in the IMO in '98 and IMO in '99. And now, ladies and gentlemen, have fun and happy learning with Luis Serrano. Luis, welcome to the podcast. I'm very happy and thrilled that you accepted my invite.
Thank you very much.
So to get things started, how did you get into AI? Let's start it like that.
Yeah, it was a windy road. I started with mathematics. So I did a PhD in math and I was working in research as a postdoctoral fellow. I was doing research and teaching at the university. And then I started getting interested in programming and in technology. So I started taking some online courses. And then got interested in machine learning. So I started learning, and it seemed like a buzzword. But then I realized it was common methods in mathematics that I already knew, sort of, but applied in a very interesting way. So I got hooked, and then I decided to switch careers. So I went to work at Google in the machine learning, in one of the machine learning teams that did the recommendations at YouTube, the video recommendations. And that's how I started. And then I just got interested in more educational things. So I really wanted to teach it. I enjoyed it more. So I ended up teaching it.
Okay, awesome. So a lot of people know that AI has a lot of stuff to do with mathematics, linear algebra, and so on. Maybe you can, I know from your podcast, this small anecdote that you told us about where you hated mathematics and then there was this competition. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's a funny story. So I did hate mathematics and I didn't understand it at all in grades up to grade 8 or something. I dreaded it, like every student, or maybe even more than the average student, because it was formulas and they spoke nothing to me. So to me, it meant nothing. But I really like puzzles. I really enjoy little games and little riddles and things like that. And I spent time on them, on little magazines or games. And this happened that one day they said, let's, if you want to skip 2 hours of class, you can take this national mathematics Olympiad exam. And I decided to take it because it was a great idea to lose 2 hours of class. And I found out that it was all puzzles. It was not mathematics. It didn't look like math at all. So whatever was like formulas, I skipped it. And then I did all the little games. And I came out and it was nice. You know, I thought it was fun, but I didn't think much of it. And then 2 weeks later, the teacher comes and tells me, hey, congratulations. And I'm like, well, what happened? He's like, well, you were first. And I thought I was first in the class. And I was like, wow, no, that's never happened before. But I was first in the country, turned out. And I was very surprised, and so was everybody else, because I was a terrible student in most classes. But the prize for doing that, /punishment, was that in the summer you get to go 3 weeks to a math camp. And I went there, and then I fell in love because it was they explained it all in a nice way, like in a puzzle, because math is really puzzles. I mean, if anybody likes to solve riddles and puzzles, that's math. It's not the formulas. The formulas are just a language. And so I really got into it, and I started participating in the Olympiads. And then later in the years, if you continue participating and you make it to a team, you start traveling to international Olympiads. So I did some of that, and it was so wonderful, that such a great experience, that I said, I'm gonna study math and then see where math takes me.
That's
It took
awesome.
me here.
I like the story. But on your road to AI, on learning AI, what do you think? What was the biggest bottleneck for you in terms of understanding? Because what I know from your Udacity classes, you like to explain, also from your YouTube channel, in a more practical way, in a more geometric way. Is that what you found for yourself works the best for you?
Yes, that is my biggest strength and also my biggest weakness. I found when I was working at Google, it was difficult. I took my time. Like, they produce fast, and I try to understand things well. And it's not like I choose to and I say I really want to understand as well. Is that I have a hard time working with something if I don't understand it in a very basic way. So I would spend hours at night and just looking at things and looking at things. And I started noticing that my colleagues would be so much faster, and they would just apply things very quickly and launch things and write a lot of code. And I started like, wow, how can they be so fast? And I started realizing, okay, they have a capacity to work on things without necessarily fully understand. They understand just enough to be super productive. And so I admire that capacity. I do not have that capacity. I need to understand it really well. So work normal things like programming takes me a lot longer than other people. But I started noticing that that explaining came out much easier when somebody else explained it. They just did it at such high level that it was not very understandable. But I kind of like, because I took so long understanding it in a basic way, when I explained it, it came out easy because that's how I have it in my brain. So it was a strength. It was a weakness for doing things that it takes me longer, but it was a strength for explaining. So when I started figuring that out, then it was a no-brainer that I have to go to explain machine learning for a living, because that's really what I love, and also my my way of thinking really suits to that.
I get it.
Yeah, so that was my roadblock and my discovered what I liked.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I like the approach because I'm the same way. This is how I learn, like really delving deep into stuff. How do you handle all this AI knowledge that comes out, quote unquote, because of all the papers coming out? Some might be useful, some might not be that useful. How do you keep yourself up to date with the latest AI technology updates?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's impossible to be fully up to date, and I think it's too much to ask to say, okay, I'm gonna be aware of everything. So I think it's nice to not be hard on yourself. Like I'm not hard on myself if there's something big that I know, or if there's a question that I say, well, I don't know. But I like to constantly be looking at things. Like I look at certain blogs, I look at Twitters is very important, because if you follow the big names on Twitter, they will tweet about whatever they care the most. And if you skim it, then you start to sort of pick your battles and go, okay, in this field, I want to get a little further. So if I see something in this particular field, then I go and take a look. But it's important to be kind to yourself and make sure you're constantly enjoying it, and not sort of a competition of how where you are, but just if it's fun, then you're doing well.
Would you say that the book that you wrote, Grokking Machine Learning, it's also built on fun, of course? And what was your approach there? Is it also the same approach that you use for yourself, like making it more easy to grasp? Maybe you can go into detail.
Yes, absolutely. I have to, as I said, understand things in a very basic way. Like if there's still a formula in my explanation, it's because I still haven't grasped it. There has to be an example. I have to find the simplest example that portrays everything. So, for example, in linear regression, I just take a small set of points and a line that passes through them, and I explain the process of how do you explain to a 5-year-old how to fit a line through some points, or how to separate them, or things like that, or basic probability. It's all based on really understanding it for a very simple example, and then putting in the mind of the readers or the viewers of these the idea of what is the computer doing in large scale. Like, you can do it for 5 points. Imagine the computer doing that for 1 million points very fast. So the moment you can put that idea and it's in a way that everybody can understand, because there's no, when you take away the formulas and really show what's happening, this is common sense. So that's how I explain it.
Now, a bit critical question. What sets your book apart from all the other machine learning books that are out there? What would you say?
Yeah, the difference is that this is for everybody. I enjoy the books that there are there. There's some great things. And unless there are things I haven't seen, all of them require a certain amount of math that is sort of college level math. They all require linear algebra. They all require some calculus and some level of probability that you kind of have to be in college for that. So mine brings that before and says you don't need to know all these things. If you know them, it's fantastic, and there's room for that in the book. Like if there is, the formulas come later. But if you don't know them and you only know very basic mathematics, you can still understand these concepts. So that's what sets it apart.
That's great. That's great. And also when it comes to prerequisites, let's say you want to enter the industry, like for instance, you worked at Google, Apple, Udacity. Do you think a PhD is required? Because a lot of people have this impression, okay, if I don't have a PhD, I'm not qualified enough. How is your view on this particular topic?
Yeah, 100% not needed. If anybody wants to go for a PhD, that's an awesome experience. I encourage them to, but no, for data science, it's not needed at all. What you need is the will. And there's a lot of online courses that help. If you do want to get serious in data science, then yeah, you will have to learn some programming and some math. But you can pick your battles, right? Like some people are very much into coding, so they go deep into that and they learn the concepts less deeply. Some people are very much into math or statistics, so they go there and then they learn just enough code to get around. So you can pick your battles. You don't have to be an expert in everything. And yeah, I mean a PhD is not required, and even though even more. Education in particular in data science or related STEM fields in college is also not required. I think people with different disciplines, people from all different disciplines can come into data science and enrich it, because it gives the field of data science a lot more perspective if people from all walks of life come in.
Yeah, I think
so. I recommend online ed is.
Yeah, that's a good point that you mentioned it, because if more people come from different perspectives, and maybe mathematician, engineer, mechanical engineer, physicist, then when we go towards AGI, whenever that will happen, and the singularity, which I will talk about in a few moments, the road to that, like really describing intelligence, I think you would need every person or some bit of intelligence to bring everything together, right? So to have some kind of synergy effect on this intelligence that we are building. And now about singularity, do you think it will happen? And what do you when do you think it will happen, if it happens?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think we're getting there, but I mean, there's a calculation and around when it'll happen. But I mean, I think there's a lot of variables to it. There's the hardware and there's the algorithm. So I'm not sure when, but yeah, I think it'll be reaching when we reach it.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're also listening to going back to your podcast you had on your YouTube channel, that you have more the philanthropic approach, that you love humans and AI should be used to help humans. How do you see
Absolutely.
AI being used for, let's say, the military? How do you see that? Do you think it's necessary?
I hope it doesn't get used for the military at all. I hope for fighting is not the right applications. I find it very sad that it gets used for that. My two favorite fields for AI are health and education. So health, we can see it right now with what's happening, how it's helping with the virus and everything. And to me, education is also very important. I think we can use it to bring it to everybody and to really to personalize it and to make it more for everybody, because educator kind of works for one type of person, and so if we make it work for everybody and make it more interactive, etc. And that's also something we've learned these days as well, right? Because everybody's learning online. So yeah, those two are my favorite applications.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. But also there's the downside. Maybe you saw it because you mentioned Twitter, that everyone is like a self-proclaimed expert in this field then, and releases statistics and models, and some even claim accuracy of 99% or 99.99%.
Yeah.
Then the question is, how good is it? How do you see that?
There's a lot out there. And you have to navigate through it. But I think if you're sort of in the field, you can't go wrong following the luminaries and seeing what they think, and also being critical of it, right? Like, have your own perspective. And then you find sort of who to follow and who to believe in, and quickly the talkers will sort of weed out, and you can sort of get a big picture. But yeah, there's a lot of, Twitter just has a lot, so you gotta navigate.
Yeah, awesome. So I think that most of the audience will know you from Udacity, because you're like one of the most well-known guys on Udacity, I would assume, along with your colleague Miguel, for instance. Can you take us through the steps of your career, where you started and what you did, like in Apple and Google?
Yeah. So at Google, I was a software engineer, and I learned a lot there. I was working on the recommendations on YouTube. But quickly I started realizing that I was more of a teacher. I would do, webinars, I would do workshops on the weekends, things like that. And I was like, I think that's definitely my thing. So I went, so I looked for places, and I thought of, but where can I teach? Like, should I, because to me it was academia. Like, I would go to teaching university or teaching high school. But then when I found out that Udacity was across the street from Google, and that I could, and that they were looking for a machine learning teacher, then I applied, and they called me for the interview was give them a talk. So I said, okay, I'm going to give them a machine learning talk, but the way I like to understand it, which is with little, animals moving around and little things and little analogies. And in the talk, there was everything. Everybody was there. The people who were technical and people who were not technical. So it fit very well, because it's what they wanted. Like, they wanted to bring it sort of to that level for everybody. And so I started as a lead for the machine learning nanodegree team, and I loved it. It was a great time there, and it was a growth period for me, because I was learning a lot. When you teach it, you have to learn a lot more of the details. So all the blind spots that I had in machine learning, I had to cover them, because you just can't not understand everything fully when you're explaining it. So I started making video courses in video for machine learning, and then things grew very fast. It was a very fast growing period. So I got moved to sort of, it was the head of AI and data science. I had two teams I was in charge of, and I always wanted to teach. That's my main thing. I was like, I cannot be a manager and not be doing the work too. So I always assigned myself some part of the course, and I had a bunch of people that were also teaching it, and it was great because I learned a lot from them. And they would sort of, each one of us would teach a section. And so I would try to inject my style to everybody. It's like, okay, like my favorite thing was basically, I would just say, I don't understand. Like, so people come in with something, and it was genuine. Like, they would come in with an explanation of something that I actually maybe didn't know. And I'll be like, okay, we'll have to sit here until I get it, because I'm very slow at understanding. And when I get it, then then everybody gets it. So we would sort of go back and forth until the courses were down to a very digestible level. And so we built a lot of interesting courses. We built deep learning, AI, NLP. I was not directly involved, but there was part of self-driving car and flying car and all these great nanodegrees that were built there. So it was a great learning period. And then I went to, after a long time there, I went to Apple to do the same thing. So I was teaching courses at Apple. They were starting something called an Apple University, and I was in that the AI University, and I was in that team. Basically doing the same thing, teaching courses internally in video and in person. So yeah, I've been in that teaching space for a while.
Awesome. Like, so to have some kind of a clickbait worthy title, you said you worked in the YouTube recommendation team. Do you somehow understand what parameters go into the YouTube recommendation and how the algorithm, quote unquote, works?
Yeah, I mean, more than an algorithm, it's a patch of a million things. There's really, I mean, in the basic sense, what goes in is your demographics a little bit, and your behavior a lot. So imagine a long vector where with all the videos on YouTube and a 1 in every place that you watch the video and a 0 everywhere else. I'm oversimplifying it, but that's your vector. You're coming with like a humongous, and then there's a parameter for each one of those, right? Like if you watch Despacito, then the parameter for like watching, I don't know, the Kim Martin video is high, or things like that, right? Like there are a lot of correlations, and so that's the idea. And there's neural networks that they use for recommendations, but the bulk of the algorithms is very simple, right? The bulk of the algorithms is not different than one of the first algorithms you will learn, perceptron, logistic regression, neural networks, etc. But the special thing of it is all the things around it. Like you have all these filters, you have all these heuristics, this randomizers, these rankers, this just all the things, because you're handling so much data that the pipeline is very complicated. So the bulk of the algorithms, the first time I went there and I asked, what do you guys do for machine learning? And they're like, oh, we use linear regression and classification. I was like, really? But the complicated part of it is all the details.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't fully understand all the whole picture, and I don't think anybody knows the entire whole picture like in detail. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of steps. But I do have an idea.
You have a rough idea. So, but you cannot say that it all comes down to watch time and click-through rate, because that's what the theory out there is, that these are the two main parameters would actually count.
Yeah, I would say watch time is the most important. There's really click-through rate allows a lot of garbage, right? Because an explicit thumbnail or something just gets you high click-through rate, but then people watch 1 second and they feel bad about themselves and leave, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to watch time seems to be the most the most true variable as for now. I don't know if since I'm gone they've discovered a new one, but watch time seems to be the big one. But at the same time, we're always looking for the true measurement, right? Like watch time measures how happy someone is with YouTube, but 10 minutes of, I don't know, garbage and 10 minutes of like something super amazing and insightful are measured as 10 minutes. And so we always wonder, and I'm sure they're still wondering it, how do you measure how do you measure when the user really got something out of it, and how do you measure real satisfaction? So once, they figure something out for that variable, that would be the one. But right now I think it's watch time.
Maybe we only see the tip of the iceberg. Maybe they use something like sentiment analysis and watch like through the comments. Maybe they see if someone says, okay, the video is complete garbage, then they probably know, okay, maybe if it's like more comments like that, then it might probably not a good video.
Maybe. A lot comments were something that we did when I was there, at least we were scared of and didn't touch with a 10-foot pole, because it really, YouTube comments are where the worst of humans can go. So all the trolls, and there's just a lot. I think if you harvest them well, there's a lot in the comments, but at just at first glance, there's so much. People write so much stuff that it's and some trolling and things like that I found that whenever there is hard to make any models that work properly on comments. But I think, yeah, if you handle them well, there may be a lot of potential in the comments. Also, they a lot of times it's hard to tell if people liked, if it was a good quality or low quality video, or if it's something people disagree, right? Like many times, especially when things get very polarized, a video may just have 50% comments of saying this is amazing and 50% saying this is the worst thing in the world. And it's more disagreement, right? And the same thing with likes and dislikes. Many videos could be good, but a lot of disagreement makes them look bad in likes and dislikes. So that's another signal that we also could really work with very well.
Sounds very interesting. Echoing what you said, like that you like teaching and stuff, and you wrote your book, obviously, and I will put the link down in the description, of course. If you want to get Luis' book, then check out the link in the description. Also, your YouTube channel is great. If you guys out there want to get started in machine learning, definitely check out Luis' channel. Like, you like being a teacher. Who was your teacher or mentor? Who are you getting inspired by?
Yeah. I've had a lot. I think I've been blessed. I've been blessed with great mentors. We all had that one particular teacher. I had one particular math teacher in high school, just around the time that I started liking. His name was Reynaldo, and he really explained it well. So he helped a lot in me starting to like it. He has sort of that style of funny style. Make a joke here and then a funny analogy there. So that was the first. Him and a couple of other teachers in high school, in the Olympiads, definitely. That's when I really started liking it, because people there used to see it very in the same fun way that I liked it, in sort of like a problem solving way. So the leader of the Math Olympiads in Colombia, her name is Mary Falk. She was very inspiring to me. She was pivotal in my career. And then I had many professors in university. Particular, my PhD advisor was he taught very well. He put a lot of emphasis in teaching, even though that's rare for a heavy research minded people to put a lot of emphasis in explanations, right? They just spend all their time researching and very little time. Okay, let me just explain this very quickly. So he was very much into that, and his way of thinking was, I'm going to digest this very, very well, this simple thing very, very well until I grasp it. Like, if you just have respect for things, right? As opposed to like saying, oh, this is easy, I'm going to skim it. He would look at something easy and try to understand it better. And that's the key to it, right? And so I learned that from him. Like, I just take something easy that I already understand, or that I think that I already understand, and look at it for hours and make little examples and really, really digest it. And until I just grasp it so well that all the explanations fall from there.
Okay.
So, but yeah, in general, I've just been blessed with a lot of mentors. So,
that's amazing. What would you say if someone gets started in the machine learning journey, so to speak, apart from your great book, of course? What resources would you recommend for a beginner to get started in machine learning?
Definitely the book. There's a lot of, if you want to go a little deeper in the math, there are other books. One of my favorites is Pattern Learning. I think it's Pattern Recognition and Machine Learning by Bishop.
The one from Bishop, yeah.
But that was, by Bishop. That's heavier in the math. But if you enjoy my book, then the next, going to that would be like the similar structure, but then with a lot more math. I'm a big fan of just watching videos and doing tutorials. I'm just gonna mention some things. So Data Quest, for example, is very useful. I learned a lot with them, just doing little tutorials for all the technical stuff, like the packages and everything. Obviously, the Udacity courses are very good. There's a lot of great material. There's a lot of free material if you look. So look into my page, and I have some courses linked there. I'll give you my links, serrano.academy. There's a lot of great YouTube creators. There's I watch hours of them. There's some guy, Brandon Rohrer. He has very good material. Josh Starner from StatQuest, great material. 3 Blue 1 Brown, that's more math, but he has great material. Courses in Coursera has some great courses. Also, a lot of them free if you audit them. Basically, yeah, look around on the internet and pick your way of learning. Some people learn by reading and working out the math in a board. Some people learn by watching videos and seeing things visually. I'm one of those. And some people learn by coding, and they just find coding tutorials and coding labs. Pick the way you learn and go in that way.
I think also good. Yeah, sure. Sounds very good. Thank you a lot for your input. And I think what should be also like kept in mind is that you should just be curious about stuff and never go arrogant, because I think the field, especially AI, is like very humbling. And I think proclaiming yourself as like an AI expert is like not very humbling, and it's not very true because it's such a big field.
Yeah, and that's kind of a cause and a consequence, right? Like, let's say people go into AI and they see all these people who sort of pretend to know everything. And then you say, oh, I have to learn everything. And then it's hard to learn everything. So people may sometimes, as a reaction, get forced to like sort of pretending they know a lot more. And I think we should be kind to ourselves, right? And say, okay, I'm not going to know anything. And neither does the person who sounds like an expert. They also don't know everything. And it's fine to not know everything, because AI is so big that we all know a piece of it. And we all know it in a particular way. So some people are strong in a certain, coding way, some people in the stats way, some people in the applications way, some people in the business way, and we need that. And we don't have it. So we should be humble, for ourselves, to not be hard on ourselves, and also for others to show them that they're not behind, that they're just in their own journey and contributing in a certain way, and just enjoying. I mean, I believe a lot, if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're doing it well. So not stressing of like, oh, I need to learn this one more thing. It's like more like, okay, am I enjoying today? Am I learning something cool? Perfect. Then I'm doing well.
That's amazing. I love it. Yeah. Perfect, Luis. So you're probably older than 18. So my question to know you is, if you go on the phone now, so the phone rings, you pick it up, and then 18-old Luis is on the phone. And you have to give him some advice or 3 tips what he should do differently. Ooh. What would you say the 18-year-old Luis?
Wow. Yeah, I would say pretty much what I just said, that don't be hard on yourself. Don't have to know everything. You don't have to have the answer for everything. Just be curious and enjoy. Look for follow your happiness, right? Don't think that there's a path that you're supposed to follow and deadlines that you're supposed to have in life, because you miss them all. There's just focus on what do you like. There are 2 things that I think, when they align, through like happiness comes out in your work. One is, what do you like to do as a hobby? Like, regardless of anything else, what is the one thing you really enjoy doing? Like solving Sudoku something, or maybe a crossword puzzle, or maybe building, planting plants, something like that. Like, what is that thing that you enjoy? That's first question. And the second question is, what is the thing you want to do for the world? Right? Like, what is the cause that you care the most, or some causes, and what is it that you can do to improve the world? Okay, so there's thing 1 and there's thing 2. If you can align them, that's it. You career, you have your path, right? So try to find those 2 things and try to align them, and then that's it. So I found it in education, right? Like, I thought I really enjoy teaching. That's my thing. Like, if you're with me in a bar, like, at some point I'll bring a napkin and start, oh, look at it, this is a little thing. And then I also believe that the world gets improved with education. I feel like if we're all more educated, we'll make better decisions as a group, and everybody can have their potential to give all they can give to the world. so those two are my two aligned things. I like teaching, and I believe that education is the way to a better society. So boom, that's my direction.
And that's what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that's what I would tell 18-year-old me.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love it. Echoing what you said as point number 2, where you said also do what you love. Sometimes like society like gives a bit pressure on you and says, hey, why are you doing this? This is not like the normal way, how we do it as society. And a lot of people, especially in the field of AI or engineering, mechanical engineering, they look for where can I earn the most money? Do you think that's the right approach, or would you really go with what makes you happy? Because I agree with you on that point.
Yeah. I mean, I speak for myself, but I definitely following the money has never worked for me. I think it's the wrong metric. Maybe it works for some people, but this society is built in such a way that what gives money is not necessarily the best cause or the most fun for people. So I would advise not to, and that's a lot. Growing up, I'm sure you heard the same thing, and I heard the same thing. Like, you have to follow the money, you have to get what gives you. And when I thought of that life, I found it miserable. I couldn't imagine, because I would have to do jobs that were not what I liked, right? And so I do think you have to follow your passions and what you believe in. Of course, it's a hard society for that. So there are times when your passions are something that gives no money. So you may have to figure out a way to follow them while putting bread on the table. But I think if you're smart, even if what you wanted at the very end was the money, following the money is like the greedy algorithm, right? Like, many times if you just followed what gives you more salary at that time, you may reach like a local maximum. And there are many times that the path to a lot more money, it's actually going down the hill a little bit and then back up. So even if your main metric is money, following the money doesn't work. Like, and I think the only way is follow what you like, because that's the way you'll be happy and at the end make more money. That's what you wanted. Yeah.
That was a good geometric explanation for a very good teacher. I like it, Luis. Luis, what is the meaning of life for you? What does life mean to you?
Ooh, that's a deep question. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're all in this together. I don't think of me as an individual. I think in this sort of reality, we look like we're all different. We look like we're individuals, but I think we're sort of droplets of the same wave. And I think we should think as a group, and I think life is meant to find that unity, and we're seeing it a lot these days with the things that are happening, that we have to tackle things as the whole human race, or all the living beings. So I think the meaning is going from the individualism that we're born with in this individualistic society into a group thinking. Yeah.
So the next thing that I would have asked you is what's your spirit animal? Now that you said that you're not like an individual, I would assume that maybe you would like to be a wolf. Or what would your answer be?
Oh, wolf. That's an interesting part of what's my spirit animal. I think ducks are awesome, because have you noticed that they do everything? They swim, they walk, and they fly.
And they're emotionally intelligent.
And they're intelligent. So I always think of them. It's not the obvious one, but they're pretty cool. So maybe a duck.
Yeah, there is actually, now that you say a dog, there is a book from I forgot the author. It's like more of a political book, and I watched it online, where at the end of the world there's a scenario, like a story, where there's one man and one dog and a machine, and the dog is there to let the human not touch the machine in order to destroy everything. something like that. It's
wow.
It's like
maybe
some kind of end scenario.
Okay. Yeah, no, totally. I find that in animals, we see animals as inferior, and I think we can be more wrong. I think, especially for example, I look at ants, right? And I'm like, are ants individual, or are they thinking as a group? Like when you look at all of them working together at unison, is there a soul for each one of them, or is there a soul for all of them at the same time? Because that much coordination, humans don't get to that level, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I do wonder, and I think some of them may be more advanced than us. I don't know.
That's beautiful, beautiful. So what I would do now is we cover some questions from users that have posted some questions on social media.
Yeah, we'd love to.
So question number 1 would be from LinkedIn, from Sanchi Mittal, who also took, by the way, the Udacity course. I have a question for Luis. What are the most sought for and distinguishing skills in the industry for a machine learning engineer?
Yeah. Well, definitely some technical skills, coding. Python is great, but something like you can learn some packages like Tableau or things like that. So definitely technical. Some coding / technical skills are needed, and definitely some statistics and probability, and just knowing it in a. I like to understand it in a conceptual way, but yeah, there's definitely probability and statistics, knowing some things in a deeper level, and I think that's about it for the basic requirements. Linear algebra and calculus also help. But mostly knowing your problem. I think what really enhances what the computer does is when the human, really knows their data and really can do the input that they that is their job, right? The human does the part of the human, which is knowing the data and making those decisions. The computer doesn't know. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the most of the work is like pre-processing data, right? Which I also realized when doing some courses. It's like, okay, as a machine learning engineer, or you have to really do the dirty work. It's not just only like fancy programming and.
Yeah, a lot of it is data cleaning, so just getting used to it. Yeah, a lot of times, yeah, you end up doing things that are very mundane, and you're like, oh, cool, I do study all this math and all this programming for, but it's like, the computer can do the beautiful models, and we sometimes have to do some of the mundane things that the computer can't do, but that's fine.
Okay, perfect. So second question is from YouTube, from Ajinkya Yaktab. First one is how AI will be helpful in taking measures against outbreaks like the coronavirus.
Absolutely. AI is helpful in every way. I think right now they're using it to model proteins, to model the spread of the virus among society, to model things like to make tests, right? Like you can use scans. They're working on X-ray scans and trying to detect the virus from there. So definitely to speed up. I think we're in a scenario that we need to speed things up a lot, because the biggest problem with this virus is that it spreads fast, and that it just depletes the resources, the medical resources. So machines can be very useful for detecting and just making things easier for doctors.
Perfect. Second question is it necessary now to start involving AI courses in school level as a head start? What would you say?
Absolutely. I think it's a skill that if we like, I think we are able to teach AI even earlier. I don't know if you've seen those games for programming that kids learn programming with those games. I don't remember the names, but there's some really good games that you can just put blocks in and program. I think we can do that with AI. So I think we can even start with little games that teach kids the concepts of AI at a very young age. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Then we have also one which was sent right before the podcast from Mohammed Saud Khan. How do you see the AI future, and is it like an area of automation and done automatically, or is support of humans still needed to increase safety and health and quality?
Absolutely. I think I think you nailed it. She nailed that question, because the humans we need to make sure there's ethics. If we let the computer run and put it one thing to optimize for, the computer will optimize it without caring about anything else. And many times this could just spell disaster. So humans have to be present, and it's a responsibility for us to make sure things are ethical and that we're not replicating some bad behavior. That there's diversity, there is that we're not creating some evil machine. So yeah, definitely there humans are needed.
Perfect. Okay, what we do next and what we the last part is I have sent Luis a folder of pictures, which are 8.
Okay.
8 as a number. And for those who are just listening, because I might convert this into just audio. So what do you think about the first picture about your colleague, Miguel Morales, in one sentence or one word?
I think he's a great teacher.
Perfect.
Very good expositor. Yeah.
I think so the same way. Picture number 2, Jeffrey Hinton.
Definitely a visionary. I think he sees the path of AI and the brain more than anyone.
Picture number 3, Andrew.
Andrew is a complete picture. He just manages to attack AI in every way, from the business, from the research, from the teaching side. He's just complete.
Perfect. Picture number 4, Ian Goodfellow.
Ian Goodfellow is just brilliant. I think he has ideas that no one else can have.
Yeah, perfect.
Very smart guy.
Picture number 5, Alan Turing.
Turing, revolutionary. I think he had a vision for computers that was unique. So yeah, revolutionary.
Awesome. Picture number 6, the company OpenAI.
I think reinforcement learning. When I think of it, very useful reinforcement learning tools and demos for and more, but for me that.
Yeah. Then we come to picture number 7, DeepMind.
DeepMind is definitely they're pushing boundaries. Next frontier in AI. I always remember them from Go. That was a huge thing, but definitely for next frontier in AI.
Perfect. And the last picture number 8, Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon Musk, yeah, he's a futurist. I think he's the people who see the future. That's him.
Awesome. So thanks a lot, Luis. Do you want to say anything else to the audience at the end, like where I put every link down in the description where they can find you, like Serrano.academy, your book, follow you on Twitter, YouTube, of course, to get you soon to the 100K mark?
Oh, thank you. That'd be awesome to get the 100K mark. Yeah, maybe one day I'll do it only the YouTube and.
I'm sure you're a great teacher. Like
I get to a certain level. Thank you. I think all my information I've put it together in Serrano.academy. So that's the best way to take the videos and just kind of anything. But yeah, I mean, follow the channel and keep finding what you love. Yeah, I will also give you a discount code for the book, so you can put it in the there's
I'll
a
put
discount
everything
for
in the
anybody who wants to buy the book.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Liz, thanks a lot for being on my podcast.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.